Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we're back with another slime video, the second fight of Heroes Jubilee 31 Normal Battle 2. So we, earlier this morning, put up Normal Battle 1's video. That'll be linked in this description, and this will be linked in that video's description, and so forth and so forth. I'll have a playlist on the channel for Jubilee 31 that you can search for and find all what's going to amount to 5 videos minimum for every single fight. But just get this out of the way. Disclaimers is that your results may vary because you may not have the same units that I do. My videos are just to give you an idea of what you can use, and then you'll have to make the substitutions that you have in your own box. The number 2 is don't forget to have these characters as your protection characters, and these characters as your skill point characters in case you see that I'm starting out with additional skill points or additional protection gauge. These characters are what makes that happen. And then finally, make sure to go into your Tempest area and optimize your magic output buildings to get the most you can, especially for this stage, with a dark nuking unit. So with that said, let's go ahead and start up Normal Battle 2. Alright, so my highest scoring team so far for this stage is this team with Summer Memories, Treyni, and Milim leading the pack. Dark Milim is here for the turn 1 orb change and her alt buff. Old Wind Treyni is here for her orb change if we need it, and also the alt rush for the new Summer Memories Milim. The hero is here for the rewind and the crit, and then Raphael is here to give Milim the pierce and then also put the alt resistance down on one of the enemies. One important thing to note here is nobody has a weapon on. Milim, if she has weapons, she does way too much damage to these guys. They are not tanky at all. So in order to prevent us from killing them too early, we took her weapon off. So little damage is possible going in, but the nuke still gets to that 1 million damage cap because of just the amount of buffs that we have going on this team. We've got the alt buff, the crit buff, the pierce, the alt resistance down, Milim's own attack and dark attack buff, plus the defense down from Protector Treyni. Really makes it so we're going to hit like a truck. We just have to get there without killing them by hitting like a truck. So, turn 1, we are going to orb change with Dark Milim, and then we're going to bring the other Dark Milim in, and then we're also going to bring Raphael in because his support trait, I think, is turn 2 protection gauge. Maybe. But we're going to send Milim first because she's not. I don't want her to do her 200% damage. Again, we want to keep them alive as long as possible. So we're also going to spread the damage out. So this is going to work pretty well. As long as you don't have like an entire hand of Milims that's going to do like 200% damage across the board, you're going to be okay. So we're taking some hits right here. And then we've got a very good hand. Look at that. We've got the Treyni orb change, so we've got enough points to do that. And then we can also use the alt rush ability to give Milim more alt gauge. We don't have the alt gauge charm on Treyni. We have the... Well, we don't have the alt rush charm. We've got the extra alt gauge on blue charm. So we're not going to send that because I just want to see how much we get. We are going to... Actually, do we? No, we don't use it yet. But I think I'm thinking here. So let's go ahead and kind of pass through it a little bit. Alright, so we swap the hero in instead for Raphael. And then we're gonna we use the rewind, so that's important. And we're gonna go ahead and send this. I think we do have to use Treyni because we want to make sure that the next hand is full of blues. So there we go. And now we've guaranteed that on the rewind, full hand of blues. We're gonna get the Milim alt here, so we gotta, again, be careful of where we're sending the orbs to make sure we don't kill one of them accidentally. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Sorry. Counting is hard. Math is hard. Numbers are hard. And then on the rewind, we do get, again, very lucky with Milim orbs. We have 3 more. And that will get us her alt right here. So we don't want to use anything here because, again, we don't want to kill these poor things. So we're going to have to spread the damage out and then kind of just pray that she doesn't like naturally crit or naturally pierce or something. Because with the defense debuff that Treyni put on them, they do take quite a bit more now. So we do have to be careful. So 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, 6. 1, so yeah, right there. That's pretty low right there. Lower than I would have liked to see, but because if we had crit or pierce, it would have killed him. That guard actually I didn't really want because it wouldn't have killed anyways. So cool. There's a hit. There's a hit. There's a hit. And now we have 100 points, EX alt, double protection gauge, and we have enough to do everything. So we'll use the crit buff, the Milim buff here, and then we'll go ahead and swap in Raphael and Dark Milim, and we'll have enough points to use both of their buffs as well. And then we're going to go ahead and nuke for big mommy damage with Milim. We're going to put the defense debuff down on the enemy, so that's just more damage right there. The alt buff, and then with the second use of Treyni, that'll give us exactly 55 points to use the pierce and alt resistance down, and then we'll go ahead and just AoE nuke. So this team's a little wonky. I mean, that turn 2, if I didn't have that Treyni orb change, it would have been pretty much game over right there, but thankfully this didn't take me very long to get, which for some people it might. So Milim nukes, she does 287 and 433 to the center one, because that's the one with the alt resistance down. And that is enough to get to the 1 million damage cap. So we lost 142 points for taking hits throughout the fight. On a perfect run, you're taking like 6 damage or something. I'm not really worried about 142 points. All the points that we're really going to get is going to come from boss battles. But that is my main team. Let's move on to a few alts. Alright, the second team is actually Big Sweaty Tryhard Nature's team. It doesn't quite work out for me because I don't have a 120 Summer Hinata. But I still want to show it to you guys. So it's still got Summer Treyni, it's got 2nd Anniversary Hinata, Dark Milim still for the orb change and the alt buff, Fount of Wisdom Rimuru for his orb change and the physical buff, Hinata's here to steal orbs for herself to get her EX alt, and then Rain is here for the crit resistance down, more than anything else, and the green buff, technically, if you get a few greens here and there. So it does require, if you're going to run this team, it does require maybe not a 120 Hinata, but like a 116 Hinata. I don't actually know, because I've done it, and I don't do enough. So we're going to, we're going to do what we can. So turn 1, we're going to orb change with Milim and get her out. I do have weapons on everybody here, because here, since we're not doing an AoE nuke, we want to take as little damage as possible. So we gotta either kill or pray that the middle spider doesn't do more than 1 damage on us. So we're gonna take it down very, very, very low. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the idea is that every time they hit you, they only do 1 damage. So if you get naturally crit or naturally pierce and you take more than 1, it's kind of lights out. So there, we did that. 1 damage there, and then 1 damage there. So unfortunately, that was already a dead run because we took 476, but we don't actually hit damage cap anyways. So here we get 3 Hinata orbs, which is what we're praying for on turn 2. And now we're going to bring Rain in because we have a bunch of green orbs. So on top of having the crit resistance for multiple turns, the green buff will help us achieve more gauge. And we're also going to crit buff here, which again is kind of scary. So we only need 1 spider still alive, so we can kill 2 of them here, and we'll look pretty good. But ideally, we'll see how it goes. So we're gonna spread it out. So that one's dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We took out the pierce one because it always seems like the pierce one just does more damage. So now we have 1 spider left. We've got the EX alt. Pierced me again, even though he's got the crit buff, so thanks a bunch for that. But now we have 100 skill points, we have an EX alt, and we have a double Treyni, which means that we have points to use everything here. So we'll use the physical buff from Rimuru, we'll use Treyni to give us 40 more so we can use Milim, and then we'll have another Treyni to give us another 40 that we can then use to use the Hinata element buff, which is really great. That's only 40 points. So here we go. So we've got everything on. We've got the crit resistance. We've got the magic buff. We're not the magic buff, but the element buff. We've got the physical buff. We've got the crit itself. And we do 694. And actually looking at the breakdown, we did 868 total damage for weakness. We need 1 million to max that out, so I'm a little short, which is why if you want to do this single target team, it really only works if your Hinata is very highly duped and maybe is fully maxed out. But that is how you're going to do it, and obviously the minus 913 points. If we didn't ever get pierced in that, we would have had max score right there for that. But that is the Sweaty Whales team, but it does require very specific things to happen. So if you want to try it and you do have a 120 or a very high dupe Hinata, then be my guest. But let's move on to the next team. Alright, so the next team is going to use Visions of Coleus, Valentine, and Rimuru for the AoE Dark Nuke, since he does have type advantage. He's not getting that extra 60% damage buff that, like Treyni would give a Summer Memories unit, but here's hoping that between the alt buff, the magic buff, a little bit of extra alt buff from Lumi, and then the crit buff, we would be able to do enough to get us a decent score. So let's go ahead and start this up. We will have the synergy damage effect as well, but no synergy power, no synergy resistance. Rimuru by himself is not a traditional damage unit. He's a utility support unit more than anything else, but we're going to use him because he does have an EX ult, which means he will do more damage than any other, standard dark unit that we have. So why not? Let's give it a try. So again, we have Dark Milim here for the orb change. The only real substitution for Dark Milim at this point would be free-to-play Trya, of which you wouldn't have the alt buff, so you'd have to bring something else, or just lose a buff. Not really the greatest thing right there. So here we do want to keep everyone alive, but since we don't have that extra 6% damage buff, it's going to be a little bit easier to do so. So we're not too afraid of sending full combos. So we're going to send this entire hand of 6 as soon as I manage to do it. There we go. Finally, I decided to do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It doesn't quite kill them. It takes them down pretty low, which is fine. So we have 3 turns to get 3 spiders. Very, very low. And turn 2, we are looking for 3 Rimuru orbs to change into, because we're going to use his orb steal and his unity orb buff to get us maximum points, maximum protection gauge, and maximum alt gauge. So we'll use also a stack of the Lumi alt buff, so that's an extra 20% right there. We don't go higher than that at all. We just don't have the points to do so if we want to use all the other big time buffs. So let's go ahead and do that. And then Unity, and then we're going to swap in... Okay, so we don't use the Lumi buff yet. We use the Rewind right here to give us an extra turn. So that works out just fine. That also gives us extra gauge. So there's a stack of Lumi, gives us synergy buff. We can't send really anything else against that first spider now, so we're just going to send it on the middle one. We're going to send Rimuru first, though, because this is the Rewind turn, and we want to be able to have them take a little bit more damage over this next turn as well. So, and plus we have the synergy buff, so we're going to do more damage regardless. So I didn't want to send all 6 with Rimuru last on one of them, because that probably would have killed him. Rewind kicks in. We get pretty lucky right there. 4 blues and 2 greens. Now we use the alt buff from Lumi, which does heal us, but the heal doesn't matter towards the damage taken score. Whatever damage you take, it's automatically there. It'll help your remaining HP score, which isn't as impactful, though. So here, we have the EX ult. We just need to get another stack of Lumi and get back up to maximum points, which the 4 blues should do. So at this point, we're just going to go ahead and spread the 2 orbs, 2 and 2. So 1 Rimuru, 1 Lumi on each of these spiders that is not low. And then we will go ahead and nuke next turn. So that spider right there, I wish it was a little bit lower, but it is what it is. So there's a pierce right there. There's a pierce right there. Again, if you're looking to take minimum damage, they can't pierce you. They can only take 1 damage, but we don't have like the extra 20% stats that we would have here on everybody. It's just Rimuru. So here we've got 150 points. So we've got the Milim alt buff. We're not going to use the crit buff here. If we were able to use the crit buff, then we would definitely hit the damage cap, but we don't have that many points, and the alt buff is a much more impactful buff right here than the crit damage. So we'll use the alt and the magic buff, and then we're going to go ahead and just send 1 hero orb just to get it a little lower before we nuke with Rimuru, and then we'll see what he ends up doing, which is 281, 282 across the board, so we almost get there. Like, we're very, very close to 1 million. Yeah, 968. And we only took 113 damage right there. So, I mean, if Rimuru has more dupes in him, and we got lucky on the Pierce, this team could actually get everything done. It's just you gotta get a little lucky, and you gotta have more dupes than Rimuru. So, that is another team that can take on a normal battle too. Alright, so for the final team that we're going to use for normal 2 is the one that took me the longest to record. 1, because RNG hates me, and 2, because I hate myself. Because I misclicked like 4 different times. So, we have Dark Veldora. Milim is again here for the orb change and the alt buff. Isis for green buff and the orb changing. Hinata is here for the dark buff. We're gonna nuke with last year's Rimuru, the forgotten child of the 1-year anniversary. We are going to make him relevant, slightly. Not super relevant, but he's going to be the nuker. And then we brought the hero purely for rewind. We're already going to use Rimuru's guaranteed crit and 40% dark crit damage. We don't have the points, unless we get like a god hand, which I don't, spoiler alert, to use the crit resistance down. But it's a fairly simple team on paper. It is not as simple when we get into practice, at least for my tired brain, apparently, because there was a turn I just missed clicking the alt, and I just sent 3 normal orbs on turn 3 and called it good, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. This is correct. Anyways, turn 1, we are bringing the skill point units up front, so we have 42, so we're going to use the orb change from Milim and the Isis green buff, and then we're going to bring in Dark Rimuru for Milim, and then we're going to bring in the hero for Hinata. So this is turn 1. Turn 2 is where some RNG comes into play. Probably the most amount of RNG. Well, I think let's say about half the RNG. 50% on turn 2, and then the other 50% is on the rewind turn. Because you do need a specific amount of points to be able to do this. So we're going to send everything on the first spider. We're going to send the hero last because she's going to do the least amount of damage, and I want to leave them relatively low because we got to send, 2 more full turns of orbs without killing anybody because we're going to AoE nuke. So here, 3 blues is fine. 2 blues and an orange is fine. 3 blues and an orange is fine because we have Isis and Milim. But if you get 2 oranges, you're done. If you get 2 or more oranges, you're done. So we're going to Isis orb change, we're going to rewind, and then we're going to swap out Isis for Dark Milim and use Veldora to reset the orb change from Milim, therefore getting us another full hand of buffed greens, which will get us the alt for Rimuru, is also the important thing, is that you get at least 3 orbs for Rimuru. So we're going to spread the damage out here because we want to take down that left spider low, but not dead. And we want to, spread out the damage on the other 2 because we do have another full turn. Well, not a full turn, but a decent turn of orbs to send. So now, on the rewind, we have the Rimuru alt. We're going to use his crit buff now and hold it in the back. So we are at max points, so we're going to use the 55-point buff here. We only need, 110 points or something to really do everything. Actually, we don't even need that. But we're going to swap him out for Hinata and get them low. We don't use Veldora again. And now we have enough points to use the alt buff from Milim and the element buff from Hinata. So thankfully, if you've got a natural hand of greens or something that on the rewind and you somehow manage to not kill, because remember that Dark Milim does have the crit and the hero has the crit, then you would have enough points probably to use all 3 buffs, if math serves me right, but I don't know. So we're going to use the element buff here. We use the alt buff for Milim already. We're going to use Veldora's magic buff now. The spider's 35k HP, so I don't trust it. I don't think Veldora is quite maxed out on his damage, but we can only do so much. And then we're going to swap Milim out for Isis, because she has the most orbs. She is not buffed at all. And we're going to go ahead and send the normal orbs and then the alt. So 1, 2, 3 gets him lower. Not quite to the red, but lower. And then Rimuru nukes for 160k around there. and we're going to end up with, you know, again, a not 1 million score, but it's decent for, you know, players that this is their best option. 575,000, so not great, but again, if it's what you got, it's what you got. So there's 4 teams that you can take into Normal Battle 2 for this Jubilee. Let me know if this video helped you out down in the comments, but that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.